the first biggest question is, how do you fly?
There are always like the silly questions like, do you fly and whatnot?
The number one question you get is, but how do you fly?
I can't believe that this is actually a thing.
A mixture of awe,
Whoa, I heard that's a really tough sport.
confusion.
What? That's a sport?
Sometimes I like to joke around, oh, we get cables attached to us and cranes lift us around.
It's a range of reactions. My dad laughed.
I think Quidditch is different from other sports because it kind of has a bit of everything.
So there's dodgeball with the beaters. There's definitely basketball, shooting and aiming. There's a lot of cardio, so like track, so doing laps. You have to have really good stamina because a team like us, we're so small. You're constantly running.
I used to play rugby and I just kind of stuck to one thing, like your only job is to tackle people and defend your team. But I think in Quidditch it's like you have to defend, you have to also play a game of like handball, you have to also try to play flag football at the same time, and you can do it ever you want, anytime, and you have to be following these 3 games that are all going on at once. So I think it's very like demanding compared to other sports.
So there's definitely that. There's also rugby, so tackling, and that's another big factor. So it's like these combination sports, which makes it so unique and so different. So I was like, yeah.
People, start by being like really like, what? How can that work? And then when you explain it to them, it makes more sense. And generally people are interested.
So on my team, I play a beater.
I'm a beater.
I'm a chaser and seeker with Hoofy.
Seeker, chaser, team snitch.
I usually play as a seeker or as a chaser, kind of whatever needs to be filled because our team's small.
Also a utility player. So I chase and I seek. And last year I was a beater on the team.
So a beater is, they're more of, I like to say they have the power of the game. They can either shift the game if they're like in the playing defense, or they can really defend and like make a breaker game. So they have these beaters, so these balls, and they could hit players out. So which is why I think they have all the power in the game.
I'm in charge of offensive and defensive handling of the quaffle with 2 other chasers on the field at that time. We pass the ball around, try and score a goal, or tackle the opposing chasers and regain possession of the quaffle.
There's a keeper who, the goalie typically.
Keeper is basically the same thing as chaser, but they also have the added job of protecting the hoops on their end. They're the only position that can put their hand through the hoop.
And then there's a seeker who like catches a snitch.
We have seekers that come in about, I think it's 17 minutes into the game, and they have like a separate little job and they catch the snitch, and once that gets done, game is over.
Which more so for beaters, we don't really tackle. We have the ball, we don't need to tackle, but like there has been tackling, for beater battles, but more so we just throw the ball. It's more chill. I like it.
So how I got into Quidditch was I had a really good friend of mine from university who was on the Quidditch team, and I used to laugh at him all the time. And he said, I think he got fed up one day and he was like, you should just try it.
In high school, I ran track. Like I was a track athlete from grade 9 all the way to grade 12. And then ever since coming to university, I was like, oh, Quidditch. And there was no track team in Ryerson. So I was like, Quidditch sounds pretty cool. And I love Harry Potter. So it's like, yeah.
I was a big Harry Potter fan growing up, and so that was one of the main reasons. And I was just looking for a kind of a social engagement to do in first year, just to kind of meet people and get into the community. And Quidditch was a good fit.
It had been a very difficult year for me, and I was like, okay, why not try something new? So I hadn't really been much of a sports person.
In first year, I kind of didn't know what to do, and I really wanted to join a school sport, and they didn't have the sports. I used to play rugby, and they didn't have the sport I wanted.
In first year, I was at the clubs fair, and I literally just saw like people, not in a booth or anything, just on the lawn, just throwing a ball around while holding brooms between their legs, and I was like, is this Quidditch?
Originally I attended Fleming College, and just me and some friends were walking down the hallway, and we just happened to see some posters that were the Student Association had put up, and it said, hey, Quidditch tryouts, come check it out.
I was on campus and I saw a Quidditch practice going on, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing ever.
Hey, we love Harry Potter and sports, let's give it a check. And so we went outside and it was great.
First year, didn't know anything, what was happening in the school, what was available to be, and Quidditch being there was just like one of the coolest things.
So I went to one of the practice, I'm like, oh God, it's more intense than I thought. It's like a lot of cardio. You have to keep on running and running and running. And then I was like, this is it. This is my calling. Like I have to join this team. They're great. So yeah, that's how I got into Quidditch.
So I ended up going to a tryout and I loved it. and that was just it.
I like Quidditch because it's pretty much brand new. It's only 11 years old and it hasn't been around for 11 years in Canada. So everything's still being pioneered, basically. So it's a really exciting era of the sport to be in.
I really like Harry Potter and being a nerd, and this was the perfect combination of sports and being a geeky person.
Quidditch is a way to play a sport competitively without all the other baggage of that kind of like high level like stress and kind of thing.
It's just fun to be on sort of the national level of a sport, which you don't have to spend your whole entire life training for. And
because of that, the community that's around it, that's a mix of people who are more sporty people and more like fantasy Harry Potter people. It's a mix of that, and I'd say I'm probably about halfway, like right in the middle, stuck between the two.
The thing I enjoy about playing Quidditch most is the fact that like anybody can play, and there's so many things you can do. So if you're not very good at throwing or like throwing and catching, you could do beating where you just kind of play dodgeball, or you could be a seeker where you just play kind of like a flag football style game.
You have to be good at a lot of things to be really good at Quidditch. I wouldn't say I'm like a great player, so I'm not great at a lot of things, but I do my best, and it's really rewarding every time.
For us in particular, I guess just kind of community and having fun. Some teams go a bit more competitively. We have a much more laid back kind of regime. We just kind of meet up. It's more of a social thing really. We do go to tournaments and we give it our all, but we're more in it for the just kind of socializing and having a good time and being active.
Each team, it's crazy how different each team is just based on who leads it, who makes it up, and what strategy they've kind of chosen, and it makes for really complex strategy and teamwork.
We have a lot of trouble at this university getting people that are dedicated to the sport, and I think a lot of it has to do with that mindset of this isn't as real of a sport as soccer or something like that, which is really too bad. Some teams have just so many players joining that they're turning people away, and they have to have like an A team and a B team, and they're going to every tournament. But ours, sometimes we have difficulty getting more than like 6 to come to practices, which just sucks. But we're doing our best to try and raise awareness at the school and get people more interested and more dedicated.
Quidditch, the sport in general, is one of the most open group of people I've ever met. I've been in other sports and just environments where it hasn't been as easy, and this one, like your first day, you already feel like your family. Our hierarchy is pretty laid back. Like I'm a co-captain, there's the other co-captain, but really it's more of a kind of group thing. We have a lot of kind of like group discussions about plays and whatnot. It's a lot of like different input coming in, just making sure that everyone's voice gets heard.
It's just so much fun. Going to tournaments is awesome because everyone is so nice. You're on the pitch with some big aggressive guy and you think he's a super mean guy, and then you talk to him after and they're just like the nicest people in the world.
This team has brought me from like the ground up, from learning how to catch a ball, learning how to run, which by the way is very odd experience, learning how to throw a ball, learning how to position yourself, learning how to move. But coming here, I've had, like the head coach, spent 4 hours with me when I first joined Valhalla, teaching me how to catch and throw. Beginning of this season, he taught me how to throw while running, catch while running.
Yeah, when I first tell people now, I'm getting a lot more of the, oh yeah, I play Quidditch, and they're kind of, you can see it piques their interest, and they go, Quidditch, you mean like Harry Potter, like how do you guys do that? And instead of like going straight to the like doubt and making fun of it, they're like I'm actually interested. How does that work out? And then people come and see it, and they're just totally involved in it. And as you can see, we've already brought out several new players, and every year we're getting more and more, and the Quidditch world is just growing like crazy. So it's awesome to see, because we've put so much years and work and effort into it. It's nice to see that it's going paid off.
We exist. It's a real sport, and it's so much fun. And it's not what you think when you hear it.
Quidditch is a really fun community. Like no matter what school you go to, people are very open and willing to teach you like this really cool new sport.
Which is so interesting that I think it's becoming its own thing.
And I would say no matter who you are, you should just try and play Quidditch. Yeah.